Along with resilience comes a need for GNSS interference detection and mitigation, and this is being explored in a number of countries, including the US and the UK. In our safety critical environment, we really need interference mitigation on board the ship to maintain our concept of operations with a seamless transition from GNSS to a backup. Only in this way can we ensure that operations are not disrupted. And this is what is really needed for e-navigation. Users not only need resilient PNT, they also need it to be cost effective. And so a systemic backup is the best solution. By systemic, we mean that the backup can be used within many user sectors: air, maritime, land, telecommunications, critical infrastructure. The benefits of a systemic backup include economies of scale, broad cross-sector demand, which will ensure that the cost of the systemic backup is very low. In practice, this means that chip-level integration with GNSS can be achieved swiftly, and the cost to the user will be minimal. Can we be sure that E-Loran is up to this job? As I mentioned earlier, we've done a number of trials, and this gives the results of the latest ones. We deliberately went for a very challenging environment, and this decision was triggered by comments from some Scandinavian administrations, particularly Finland and Sweden, that a system like this wouldn't work in the archipelagos. So we chose an archipelago within our own area of operation, the Orkney Islands off the north of Scotland. These are similar, although not the same as those in Sweden and Finland, but at least are an intricate set of islands and channels. This is an area of excellent Loran geometry with good signal strength from stations at Ada in the Faroes, Landet in Norway, and Anthorn in the northwest of England. Three routes were followed on 3 separate days. The total distance travelled was some 230 nautical miles, with a total steaming time of 23 hours. So it's probably the biggest trial performed to date. We installed a temporary differential Loran reference station at Kirkwall, the capital city of the Orkney Islands, and signal propagation maps were derived from the data collected during the performance of the routes. The most technically difficult part of the voyage occurred in the Hoy Sound, which you can see circled here in the map to the upper right. However, we still achieved accuracies of 11 meters, 95%, using E-Loran. These accuracy levels are typical of those realized in widespread trials over the past 4 years. Our conclusion so far is that where we have good E-Loran transmitter geometry and signal strength, and we have established a maritime E-Loran service, complete with propagation correction maps and differential Loran, there is no reason why E-Loran should not provide close to, if not better than, 10 meters positioning accuracy. So, what's the way forward? There are 3 challenges. The first is to work with other market sectors to ensure that resilient PNT based on GNSS and E-Loran is broadly available. The second is to ensure that resilient PNT based on GNSS and E-Loran can support the introduction of e-navigation. This is recognised in IALA's Worldwide Radio Navigation Plan. And thirdly, bringing together interested parties from around the world to develop an implementation plan based on a common understanding of user and functional requirements. And as shown shown here. You can contact my colleague Dr. Sally Vasker for more information, and I'll be happy to answer questions in the question session later.
Thank you, Nick. Continuing with our tradition of pinch hitters, we also have another pinch hitter coming up. John Hendrik Altman, the Deputy Head of the Traffic Technology and Telematics Division of the German Federal Waterways and Shipping Administration, another fellow colleague of the ENAV Committee and chair of the ENAV Architecture Working Group, will be pinch hitting for Captain Siddell's paper regarding Portable Pilot Unit, a challenge e-navigation application for Germany's most frequent port, the River Elbe. John Hendrik.
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to deliver this presentation on behalf of my colleague, Captain Seidel, who is currently chasing pirates off the Somalian coast with the German Navy and therefore cannot attend this conference. Well, the topic is Portable Pilot Unit, and he entitles this a challenging e-navigation application for River Elbe, and the challenge is to combine two different worlds, the world of ENC for navigational purpose and the waterway dredging. But let me introduce the presentation first. PPU, what are we talking about? What is the concept? Why do we need something new for the River Elbe? A little bit of chronology of developments, what happened before, what has to be achieved, what are the goals with the PPU, charting of depth, bathymetric ENC, and the way ahead. The River Elbe is the major waterway in coastal Germany. It is the entrance to the port of Hamburg, over here, from North Sea. And it's an estuary. It has tidal influence of 3 to 3.5 meters. And it has a frequent change in morphology. And that is one of the major reasons why we need to consider depth information. Portable Pilot Unit. Well, it should be in our mind a common notebook, easy to take on board with the pilots, and it should not be just another tool for pilots nice to have, but it should be tailored to a specific task and fulfill a specific fulfill a gap of information which is already there. As I said before, it's not only for any ships, it's for ships with extraordinarily large deep draft. We have ships longer than 330 meters and broader than 45 meters, and the number of these ships is increasing. We had 307 of them recently, and the number rises to 700 per year. You can see the chart over here, over the past years. So the number is rising, and therefore the need for a supportive tool for the pilot is increasing as well. On top of which comes plans for extending the usage of the river for power stations,